Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Boy, if you want to talk about an underground classic, Tremors, which is a movie from 1990 done by Ron Underwood. And it's easily the greatest subterranean monster movie ever made. It was produced by Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson, and was written by Maddock, Wilson, and Underwood, with the movie starring Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, and Reba McEntire. The storyline for the film goes, repairman Val McKee, played by Kevin Bacon, and Earl Bassett, played by Fred Ward, are tired of their dull lives in the small desert town of Perfection, Nevada. But just as these two try to skip town, they happen upon a series of mysterious deaths, and a concerned seismologist who is in the process of studying unnatural readings below the ground. With the help of an eccentric couple, played by Reba McEntire and Michael Gross, the group fights for survival against giant worm-like monsters that are hungry to gobble them up. This Tremors franchise of movies has proven remarkably successful, even having spawned a short-lived TV series. But how did this all come about? According to co-writer S.S. Wilson, we can thank some scrap paper and the Armed Forces Film Division. Wilson says that at the time, he had a job working as an editor at a Navy base in the middle of the Mojave Desert. On the weekends, when they weren't shooting at the gunnery ranges, he was allowed to go hiking out there. One day, while he was climbing over these large boulders, he had a thought. What if something was under the ground that made it to where I couldn't get off this rock? Wilson jotted this idea down and pursued it years later, and the rest, as they say, is history. The film began pre-production with the working title of Land Sharks. However, upon realizing that Saturday Night Live had already unleashed a recurring character called Land Shark, which was a spoof on Jaws from 1975. After noticing this, Wilson and company decided to change the movie's title. The real stars of the film are four grotesque carnivores known as graboids. Though there's really nothing like them in the animal kingdom, Mother Nature still played a big role in bringing these things to life. The special effect artist that came up with a concept for them threw bits and pieces of such real-world critters as elephants, crocodiles, dinosaurs, rhinos, slugs, and catfish into their graboid sketches. You might have noticed, though, that weirdly, this list does exclude earthworms, which the special effects team found very boring. Some of the early art that they used for the concept of the creature was deemed too phallic in nature, so they changed it. The special effects team dropped the idea of a turtle-like neck when someone allegedly said that the monster's blubbery folds resembled foreskin. When they faxed these original pictures around to the offices to get a response, all the women in these offices would pass them around and giggle. Initially, Kevin Bacon resented being in the film, only agreeing to do it because he needed money at the time for his new marriage and his upcoming newborn child. When the film was not financially successful, Bacon feared his career was completely over, and in the following years, he would refuse to acknowledge the film's existence and even called it at one time the worst thing he ever did. But however, Bacon would eventually come around to the film, calling it one of the single most fun times that he's ever had making a film. He states that when he was going through the production process, he was very depressed, and he was at a low point in his life, and he kind of blamed Tremors for that. He was bitter against it and thought it was a career killer. He said that he never watched any of his movies more than once. Some of his own movies he'd never even seen before, and had no desire to watch them at all. But he has watched Tremors dozens of times and has completely grown to love it. He's spent years trying to capture the same energy that he had on the set of the film, and now it's one of his favorite films that he's ever done. Although the film was not a big hit during its theatrical run, it became a runaway smash in the home video market and ultimately tripled its original box office gross with VHS sales and rentals. The filmmakers were forced to add the scene towards the beginning where Rhonda is unknowingly stalked by a graboid as she heads to her truck, and the scene where old Fred is killed. They originally wanted no hint of a monster in the movie until the road workers were killed to make the audience think a person might be the killer. But the studio had different ideas. They wanted to market the film as a monster movie, and thus they demanded more scenes involving on-screen kills before their big reveal. The original screenplay had an additional resident of the town, a lady named Viola, who was a nagging, hateful old woman who mostly stayed to herself. She had an aggressive Rottweiler that barked constantly. She meets her demise during the first attack, when a graboid breaks through the floor of her house and eats her off-screen. It's never been officially stated as to why her character was excluded from the film. When they ran test screenings of the movie, audiences loved it, but at the end they would repeatedly chant, kiss her," at the end. After seeing this happen, the studio paid for a quick reshoot featuring Valentine McKee and Rhonda LeBeck kissing. Now, for the scene where Rhonda had to get out of her jeans to escape the graboid that was about to eat her, Finn Carter intentionally didn't rehearse this scene at all. That way, the response she gives to having to undress in front of Kevin Bacon in less than 5 seconds was truly authentic and was shocking to her and him. Now, I'm not really sure what's going on with Miss Carter nowadays, but things don't look good for her. In 2019, the 59-year-old actress was arrested in Las Vegas and booked on 1 count of possessing a stolen vehicle and 14 counts of possessing a credit card without the cardholder's consent. Both of these charges are felonies, and in her booking photo, she doesn't look at all like the same person in this film. Go back and take a look at this classic film. It's a pretty good one. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.